So let's have a look at Haseritt. So here is Haseritt. It's a unit from LBT03. That's not really known in the West in the US, but it's one of the most played in the Japan. There is Micho that is real played, and there is Lucia that's real played, and this is one after. What does it do? First, let's talk about the run line. So here it is. So basically, grade 0, like the other, you go second. When rolled upon, you draw a card. And the specificity of the deck starts with really the grade 1. So the grade 1, when you roll a pawn, so when you play the grade 2, yep, you play a grade 2 or less from your hand. You play it, it gains 2k. And when it swings, the Vanguard, not the Vanguard but the rear, you draw a card and you put it bottom. So what basic? It's basically the same thing as the grade 3, as we will talk about when we go to the grade 3. Okay, so the grade 2 when rolled upon, so when you play the grade 3, you play a grade 3 or less from your hand at the cost of the Soul Blast, and you draw a card. Okay. So when you're on the grade 3, basically you can Counterblast 1 where on acts, so when you're during a main phase, you select any normal units. So you will select all your normal units because they will all gain 2k. So normal units, not trigger units. You need to be careful with this. It's really important. And when they attack your opponent Vanguard, so Vanguard, not Rearguard. You can't attack Rearguard to trigger the next effect that I'm going to tell you. So when you attack the Vanguard, you draw a card and put the card bottom. So the reading is really important because you draw, then you put it bottom. So for example, it is at the end of the battle. So if the unit is not here, it goes to soul, to hand, for example. Then you trigger the effects. You draw a card. You put it. You try to put it bottom, but you can't. But you trigger the first part, even if you don't have the unit. So it is a gimmick of the deck. Okay. So what do you play with this? You play 3 personalized. Very important because you don't have a lot of power. So here is the main card of the deck. Up. In 4 because you need to touch it. It's the most important card of the deck. So it's a 10k, and it allows you to search your deck for lesser units, I will call them. So it's, for example, grade 3 with 12 or less, grade 2 with 9 or less, or grade 1 with 7 or less. So it's not your usual powers, but what is really important is that you search the unit you want from top 7. So top 7 is really a lot, and it's the consistency of the deck. So how do you use it? You put a grade 2 or less from your hand, you put it into soul, and you search top 7 and you call the card you search. So really important card. Second one, so it is the beater of the deck. So when you put the card bottom, your Soul Blast 1 gets 10k. So with the 2k of the Vanguard, it's 20k beater. And the second effect is the more important one. When it's a Vanguard, so it's an on-hit effect, so it's kind of meh, but you want to have this because the effect is so good that you can't not play it in 4 because it's really so good. So when it hits, you draw a card, counter charge, and put it bottom. One of the things to consider is it is the only counter charger of the deck, so you need to have it. And as you put it bottom, triggers the effect of the Vanguard, and you draw 1 more card. So basically, when you hit, you draw 2 and you counter charge 1. So it's pretty good. Okay. Now the third more important card in the deck. You can consider it the most important card in the deck, but it's fine. I would say it's the third one. When it boosts, you can soul blast a card and move the card behind your Vanguard on a open front. Yep. Open rear, but you will move it to front because you want to hit with it. So it allows you to swing 4 times, so 1 with your Vanguard and 3 with your rear. And why it is very important is because you can trigger the unit of your Vanguard with the card on the back of your Vanguard, so you gain 2k here, you move it on front and you swing with it, so you send it back and you draw a card. It's really important because it allows you to only leave 2 rear with rear guard on it, and it allows you to put some pressure on your opponent, so it's really an important card. But you need to keep in mind that it's a Soul Blast, and this card is also a Soul Blast to gain the power. So it's already 2 Soul Blasts. You will see it's important because there is a lot of Soul Blast, and you need to consider the fact that do you want to Soul Blast or not? Okay. But you will always need the Soul Blast for this one. Okay. So the third one, Eureka. You can put it 4 times, but the issue with putting 4 times is that it's only a 8k, so it's a brick for this card. Because this card is looking for 7k or less grade 1, and this one is a brick. So if you consider that only the card that they previously showed, this one is a brick, this one is a brick, not this one, this one is a brick. Yeah. So you see you have already 7 bricks in your deck, so it's 3 more. If you put another one, it's 11 bricks. A little spoil in advance, it's only the bricks that you see right now that are relevant. There are no bricks on the rest of the deck. So you need to choose between having 10 bricks or 11 bricks. Personally, I prefer having 10 bricks. And even if you need it, because it's basically a +1, it's also a Soul Blast. So as the deck is heavy Soul Blast, you might consider not wanting to have it in your hand. It's more an option and not the must need. Okay, so what does the card do? It allows you to have 15k booster and to bounce a card and then trigger the effect of your Vanguard. So you boost, you bounce the card on the front that went to attack the Vanguard. So you have it in hand and you draw 1 because of your Vanguard effect. So it's pretty good. Overall, it's one of the best card of support of the deck. But as it is an 8k, you can't search it with your searcher. So now the cards I've shown you are more like the basic of what the deck wants. The rest is more or less the fillers. They are the cards that will be replaced later on. So first, I play 1 aura. So aura is important because it will allow you to search for this order, and this order is the PG order, and this one will keep to be used because of grade 4 deck and a guard restrict, because it can go through this kind of restrict. And why 1? Because you can search it, because it's a 6k, and if you don't have where it is, this one, or you don't have the soul, for example, you can just put this one behind the Vanguard and just attack with it, with the Vanguard. And if it hits, you can go search for this. Okay. And if you have it in early, you can just go and you want the CB, okay, just give me the order. Yeah. So it's only a 1 because if you have the order, you just discard it for Perfect Guard or whatever you want or defend with it. Okay, so now as you need soul, this one is pretty good, but you need to consider the fact that the grade 2 wants a grade 2 or less to put into your soul, so you can't use it for the effect of this one. Yeah. So it's good in the fact that it puts into soul. So the effect is when attack. So it's 13k because 2k from your Vanguard. So it's good. It's good number. No, 14k. Sorry, but it's the same. So you put into soul. You give 5k to another, and you draw a card because of your Vanguard skill, and gives you a soul. So this one is pretty good. So this one is only a beater. If you put the card bottom, it's gain 5k. So it's not that bad if you put the card bottom, but you don't really want to. You want to make a lot of plus, and this one doesn't allow it to do it. And my favorite cards are this one. Why 2 of these? Because you need 1 in your hand, and you need 1 in your deck. And if they go to drop or into damage zone, you need to have at least 1 remaining. So if this one is in your hands, you swing with it and you put it bottom. And if this one is in your hands, you can just get it back with this one. So why it's important? Because this one goes to search this one. And it makes 1 more on the board and 1 more at the end of the turn in your hand. So just for this fact, it's pretty good. It's a counter blast, but you have the one that hits and gets a counter charge, so it's fine. There are only 2 CB that are needed in your deck. The one for the card I just showed and the one for the Vanguard. So you can do this. And basically 3 perfect cards. So now for the lineup of triggers, you have the other trigger, basically. You play the lyrical one because you want it for the big column. 4 heals. Why do I play like this? Because you draw a lot. So you will eventually draw the triggers. 1 of each because you can basically use 1 on most of the matchup. Or even 2. So this one will be 10 and this one will be in 25. It's pretty good because as you draw a lot, you can guard a way that it's optimal. And this one allow good figures to guard. Okay. And why 2 normal? Because you can be rushed out early, and it's good to have a normal shield. So 4 heals, 1 over trigger. So now front triggers 4 because you need to have more power to pass, and 10k is good, and it's also a 20k shield, so pretty good shield also. So it's left us with 7 triggers. And surprise, I don't play draws. Draws are pretty bad in the deck because you draw a lot and you don't want to draw more than you already do. And 7 draws, so 3 normal and 4 soul. You have to play the soul one because the deck recommend a lot of soul to be used. And that's all for the build. So we'll talk about a more in-depth gameplay. So for the gameplay, you have your Vanguard here. Okay, let me just put the field on. Okay, so what you want is to have those 2 on the boat on your rear, And what you can do is else put this one here and put a card into your soul, let's say this one, and search for a card. So it's one way of doing this. If you do this and you tap this, it's pretty good. If you tap this, it's also pretty good, and this one is also pretty good, and this one. So these are the four you're looking for. But you need to consider one thing. If you get this one, you want to put it here, because when you will swing here, so the optimal way, you swing here, you put it bottom, you swing here, you put it bottom, and this one goes here, and now you boost. So you will get back the perfect card. So it's why it's a big gimmick. So let's go back here. So we get this one. So what is the optimal way of putting it? It's right here, because right here you will put it into soul, give the power here, or here. It depends where you want to put it. So the two left is those two. What do you want? Where do we want to put it? It's fine. This one you want to put it here or here. I recommend put it here because you can do this, and this, and it's more power, and you will most likely hit if you do it that way. Okay, sure. So, and the last one is this one. So you might consider put it here or here. It's fine as a way. Because you will look for the other one, and the other one, it's at the same range as this one, so it's pretty fine to look for this one and just put it. Okay, so what you do when you put the grids too. So let's go for another situation. So let's say you have this in your hand. So what do you want to do? You have two CB open. So what do you want to do is that this one is kind of problematic, because this one goes to soul, so you don't trigger the effect of this card that gains 5k when the card is in bottom. But this one also gains 5k from the effect. The more important thing is that you can just put it here, or wherever you want. I consider putting it here because it's kind of better, because you will have it put here at the end. This one goes here, and you go search for the card and put it here. So why in this order? It's not that difficult to understand. But this is why you need to think a lot when you play the deck. So you swing Vanguard. Considering what you get, you will put power here or here, it depends. Then you swing here, this one goes bottom. You gain 5k here, you swing here, and then you put this one here and you swing here. So this one will only hit for 13 plus boost, of course, but the point here is that you prefer to bounce this one, that gets you one board and one card in hand, than having the power here. On most situations it is the case, but if it is on turn kill, you will most likely put it here and put this one here, because they will get 5k more, and it's better that to have 5k more than to get more draw if your opponent is most likely going to die. Okay, so that's all for the global combo, but as you practice, you will figure out that there are many more possibilities if you have some bricks, for example, but you will most likely arrive to a certain point in the game when you will have this optimal turn because you draw a lot, and that's why the deck is really good. But the one problem of the deck, and I don't mention it earlier, is the overtrigger. Because you draw a lot and you have a lot of defense in your hand, you will most likely draw the overtrigger, and you will most likely get overtrigger. So that's the main problematic. So let's talk about the cards you might want to play. And I don't play it, but I can play it. And depending on the shifts of the meta, you can possibly want to play it. So these are the 3 cards that I want to talk about. And those 3 cards are kind of hard, but you can explain it because of the way you want to play it. Okay, so we'll talk about the least hard to the more hard. So I want to speak about this card. So what does it do? When it's played from hand, you reveal the top card, and if it's not a grade 2, you call it open rear. Why I don't play it, and why I think it's not that great, but you can consider it, it's because if you don't play a lot of grade 2, this one is pretty good. But you can play triggers from this, and you're forced to call. So you play the triggers. As you play the grades 2 that are this one and this one, it might not be optimal, but you have to consider this card in the near future, because this card may be replaced one day, we don't know. So yeah, this one is to keep in hand. But it's not that great, I think. The other 2 are more probably going to be in the deck than the other one. So this one. Why is this card? Because it's a 3k and gives 10k to another card. So the idea is that you put it on a persona right turn, it will be 13k, so it will hit, and the idea is to put 10k more on your grades too. So let me search it for a bit. Yeah, this one. Up. So this one, you put 10k more on this one, so it's more certainly going to hit, and you get the effect of drawing one more card and countercharging. So the combo between those 2 is not that good, but I guess it's playable. Yeah. And the other one is one you won't see much. You won't even consider playing, but I don't think that's a bad idea. So it's a 9k, with your Vanguard it's an 11k, so you can swing with it, it's fine. And the idea is when your opponent has a lot of defensive triggers, you can hit it. So this one used to swing on your opponent's rear. So when it swings at the opponent's rear, it doesn't go bottom, it stays. But the interesting fact is that when it intercepts, it gains 10k shield. So it's a 15k shield. So it's more defensive power. But actually I don't play it because you already have enough defensive power with the deck, and you want more offensive plays than defensive plays right now on your rear. So that's why I'm not playing. But this might be played in form later on, I don't know. So this one is sure one card I will keep in mind when building the next version of Haseritt. Okay. So to wrap it up, we'll talk about this unit that was revealed to us in a stream lately. So what does it do is simple. It changed trigger units to normal units, but in the sense that they are treated as and not completely changed. So if you check it, it's a trigger. But if you want to, for example, target it with the skill of Haseritt, it works as a normal unit. It's pretty good because you can send them back to bottom, and as a consequence, if you have like your trigger in hand, you can call it insane important. And it's very nice because, as I said before, the first problem of the deck is that it's hard to check your trigger because you draw it, and your opponent will definitely hit his. So you want to keep the zero trigger in your deck, and as a consequence, it is what was really missing in the deck. And as it gives 5k to the units in front, give 5k twice because you can move to open and you will move in front of this one. So it's a 10k boost on the in total. So it's pretty good. But you will consider playing this as 3 and not 4 because it's not a beater, it's more like a booster, and you have a lot of booster in the pack already, so yeah, more like 3.